think it's a matter of effectively doing a Zoom call, doing a Skype call, having a project meeting done. That is one aspect. We all are getting used to it. Now, how do you do tape outs from home? How do you do project releases from home? How do you do testing itself from home? That's where the challenge essentially lies for the teams. So we have to look at a holistic picture. If we have to have a sustainable future with digital and working from homes and so forth, we need to look at the holistic picture of how we drive the organization. It is a matter of project execution, but along with that, we need to take advantage of technology of how we do brainstorming from home. We are architecting together. We are debugging the problems together. How do we do all that sitting away from each other? Plus, learning and development aspects of people there in the organizations. How do we handle that? Innovation, how do we handle that? People connect. When people are less and less of face-to-face sessions are happening, then how do we have that people connect and personal touch with each other? All those aspects become very important. So it's a totally different paradigm we are talking about when we get into a complete digitization of our workspaces. And there are various things that the companies are doing, looking at it from from different perspectives on how we can handle that. We clearly see that this is here to stay. This is here for the long term. And as we go forward, we'll discuss about more examples of how this thing can be.
Thank you so much, Amardeep. I think amazing to listen to you and the way you explained that it's a matter of pride. I felt proud that the radar system of cars, the semiconductors are mostly being manufactured in India now, and then 120 member team doing 10 patents on an average in a year is a tremendous achievement. I know how it works. So we are also in an innovative company. So then innovation and learning and development and people connect. You touched the important components of the how of this journey. So thanks for that. So ultimately, then we should reach. I mean, somebody has to drive it. Who that person is, who's going to drive it, and whether for that person it should be treated as a temporary phenomena or it's the reality forever. So maybe on this note, I invite Rajesh as the last but not the least panelist for the first round of questions. Rajesh, who do you think should lead this across organizations? Should it be the CEO? Should it be the HR because there is learning and development? Or should it be the CIO? Or should it be the youngsters of the company?
I don't think there is one stakeholder that I can attach the responsibility to. Even though the shift presents many challenges, it also offers immense opportunity for human resource to take a leading role, because I think this is the chance for any progressive human resource position to act as a strategic differentiator within its organization. So when I say HR alone cannot do it, though it can take a huge stake into it, there are few questions that we as practicing HR professionals need to find answers for, so that we elevate the conversation with the leadership around the digital transformation, because it is here to stay. This is not just triggered by COVID. I think it was there, and COVID was just a triggering point. And being an old school thought man, I never worked from home ever in my career until it has become inevitable. And now I realize that there is also a value attached to the whole game. So the questions that we need to ask ourselves is, how is our operating model changing? Do we have the talent that we need? For example, if we talk about operating model changing, what does that mean to our structure? What it means to not only adopt to the technology, but creating an ecosystem where all the employees come together and almost look at digital transformation as a plug and play option, so that it phenomena. It takes place simultaneously, creating many touch points for the organization to create the endearing value, and also operates on a long time horizon that, hey, this digital transformation that the whole world is talking about is not just an offshoot of one COVID-19. It is the best practice that now we are going to define, going to lead this to talent that we need. How do we attract them? How do we create the consistent iteration? How do we use this for change management? How do we use this for culture creation? How do we go beyond the administrative part of the organization and accelerate our growth opportunities from the strategic perspective. So I think it's a convergence where human resource and the top leadership team, beginning with information system, information technology, and of course, the strategic part of the leadership, the board, the members of the board, the directors of the organization should all come together to create a cohesive culture that would enable the digital transformation. So, Satish, I think it's a mandate and a charter that is way too comprehensive, not limiting, and also not ending with the CEO or the CXO.
Thanks so much, Rajesh. I think if I may summarize your statement, you said it's not one person's agenda, and actually from HR who could be the enabler to the top management who could own the mandate. So this has to be driven by all. And I think, uh, if I may add to what you said, the youngsters of today, the millennials, are going to be also a key partner in this journey, because for them it's about conquering the unknown, because as they say 70% of the jobs that will be there in 2030 have not even started yet. Yeah, so it's a common, we are all in this together, and that's how the journey will be more interesting. Now this is the first round, ladies and gentlemen, where we understood the what, the why, the how, and the who of it. So basically, if somebody asks us, I mean, your professors have put together a topic that sounds nice, but it's really complicated. Can you explain me? I hope you all will be able to do justice, right? So thanks so much to all our panelists for making such a difficult and important topic so easy to understand for us in half the time. Going forward to the second round of questions, I think you want to hear more from them, and so do I. So I would this time change the order a little bit, and I'll go to Amardeep first. So Amar, we know that the pandemic has only hastened the digital transformation, right? But is it also breaking some old mindsets as well? Please share some examples of how your organization and others that you know of are using this on the ground. Yeah. So today we hear about remote. I can tell you from my organization, for an example, factory acceptance test. We are a manufacturing heavy organization. We have 23 factories. The factory acceptance where we would earlier wait for customers to fly down from Europe and certify. Today is happening online. Yeah, to virtual reviews of the workplace. All that is happening. But then, what is your perspective on this? Some more examples from your workplace, maybe, or other work, really breaking the old mindset.
Uh, I think that's a very valid question, Satish. And so it's actually amazing to see, from what we are seeing here, is that the mindset is totally changing. People are looking at things differently. For example, when we got into this pandemic, there was a thought process that will we be able to maintain same kind of productivity and be able to have same kind of development of our product and so forth. Now, it turns out that first thing people are realizing is that they suddenly have more time at hand. There is no commute involved, right? And people can do, they were in metros. People were spending hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, and in some cases on a daily basis. And suddenly you have all the time available to you. Now, people are more, accepting of having video calls, which people were. I mean, we see that some people were shy of earlier and so forth, and this thing has kind of forced them into it. We are having more global video calls and so forth, and the work. So, I mean, I'll give you a couple of examples. How I see that things are, have changed over a period of just a short amount of time. One which was widely seen recently by the people in the industry, and the other one, which was specific to my company. So some of the people, who attended the Vision Summit T20, which recently happened. It was supposed to happen in Bangalore a few months ago, related to electronics. It was by ISA, Indian Electronics Semiconductor Association. It just concluded last week, all digitally. Karnataka Minister of Electronics inaugurated that. We had Vinod Dham give a talk from Sun Micro. We had head of Intel India being part of that, Global Foundries, and Lars Reger and so forth. So who is who of the industry was there talking about it? It was interesting. They had cancelled the program 3 months ago because how do they do it? But now it was all digitally done. They give you a digital link. You enter there. You basically they open in front. I mean, what is open in front of you is a hotel lobby view. There are exhibits there. There are demo areas. There are various booths. There is media cell, so you can just click and zoom around and see around various things. Similar to you're going into an exhibition probably somewhere. And if you go for a talk, it will guide you into a auditorium. You can go there and you can hear a live talk, ask questions, you can see people, and so forth. It was amazing how it was done. So technology came in the way, or it came as a method for people to be able to transform that whole view and to be able to give people an opportunity to see it. And earlier, these kind of events maybe maybe 1,000 people or less than that would attend, but now we have tens of thousands of people who are able to hear these eminent personalities through web. And they are also very willing. Otherwise, to come from San Jose, give a talk and go, it's a 2-3 day or maybe 4 days event. This is now just a 2-3 hours of investment. Similarly, if I talk about an example of our organization, what we saw was that how. So this is like a 3,000 people organization overall across 5 cities in India. How do we basically have all of them come together and be engaged during these times? And what we realized was that nothing moves and excites people more than competition and being in a sense of contest. So what we did was we divided the whole team into about 7 people each, and we gave them names in theme of a rainbow. So yellow team or an indigo team and so forth, and we had leads designated. What was done was that any activity that any of the person does in that team, be it fitness activity, yoga activity, and so forth, any step counts that they would do, they can log in there. And similarly, we would encourage people that if you want to showcase any hidden other sides of yours, if somebody is good at painting, somebody is good at other things, they can post those pictures there. We also had the people come on Fridays and showcase their talent. For example, somebody would be playing guitar, good at vocals, and they can come and do that. So 15-20 people from all over all these sites will come together and do it. And anything you do, you get awards for that. So people were encouraged and talk about. We even got into basically a contest where we asked people to make an anthem for the team, for the company. And people were finding various ways of writing the lyrics, getting the right music in place, and so forth. And eventually we could see that with this excitement, about 90% of the organization was logging in on a daily basis, putting in certain details, and see what my team is doing, what other team is doing. And we get into this good feel good for all the people. Plus, you can't ignore the learning part. So it's easy these days with people being in this setup. So you can invite leaders from all over the organizations and give a talk. Leaders locally to give a talk. So we call it learning bites, which we are doing. I can see some of the other companies doing as well. So just 1 hour, 2 hour talk from senior. Similarly, we are having innovation reviews online, project reviews online. So all these things is going on. And once you do that, I'm sure a lot of other companies are doing that as well. And then what becomes important is that you basically get into you need to make sure that the people are learning. So you need a feedback mechanism. So we went into getting surveys done. So 3 surveys over a period of last 4 weeks, and see if people are high on productivity, continuing to be engaged well, and you basically learn and tweak to make sure that things are happening. So, given the success of programs, and in these manners, it tells that this is something that can be done over a long term, and it's the organization will mature. The companies are realizing that the productivity are staying high with these kind of methods, and the companies are actually seriously thinking about going long term into this because it's real estate and other costs. So people are innovating when there is need, and I clearly see this will go along. Satish.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I think you touched upon very real life examples, starting from, thanks for sharing that rainbow example where you use the rainbow and the sense of competition at the front, but to achieve engagement and people to break the mindset of people doing together things which earlier was not possible. And then the example of the hotel lobby and finding ways to auditoriums and product galleries was also actually very it's very futuristic. So in fact the future is here as you explained it. So that's excellent for sharing that with us and all the students. So that to the next obvious question that as Amar just now shared, there is a lot that the companies are doing, including people are doing yoga, Zumba, and cooking classes and everything online, painting competition and all that. In this, there's one aspect probably which is being considered at the end and sometimes being forgotten as well, which is the mental well-being of people, because the we never learned how to be locked down in your own house for an extended period like 5 6 months, and that has its own impacts. And people are living their life, the digital life, without the system. So it adds to the stress. We say that you are saving on travel time, but you ask the people and then they say it's a myth. Whatever time I was traveling in the bus, now I write emails and make calls in that time. Yeah. So in all this, how do we maintain personal touch with the employees, and how do we focus on mental well-being? So I will go to Rajesh to share some of his perspective on this, and also add some live examples from his workplace. Yes, Rajesh.
Satish, I think you touched upon the most pertinent aspect here, given the fact that you use the word, the line is blurred. Other day I was into another and people use the word cocktail, right? The professional and the personal life is experiencing a cocktail. You just don't know when you're working and when you're sleeping.
Right.
Rewind yourself back into March 2020. You and I would drive down to those offices, beating all the blues of those bad traffics. God forbids if you're in Bangalore, then God should save us. Many of us live here and we understand what it is to beat those blues and work really hard for 8 10 hours, starting our day at 8 and mostly ending at 8 in the night. Come back and take 1 or 2 more meetings if you're working from United States company. And then we were not acquired by an European company. We were still an American company. So technically at around 10:30, 11 o'clock, when you're done with your meetings, when you're done with your dinner, you would retire. And your home is a place to rest, to retire. That concept is rubbish. I don't know when I need to rest, and I also don't know when I need to work. That's where I think mental health take a huge beating, primarily because in the name of digital transformation, in the name of working from home, I think we just blur those lines and end up eating into our professional away, the personal life. So success or failure of the digital transformation largely hinges and principally, goes on to the employees, whether are on board of on the entire digital transformation process or not. If you really Google around, just to prepare for this conclave, when I did some research, I found that McKinsey proved that staggering 70% of digital transformation efforts fail. I repeat, 70% of the efforts fail. Which are those 30% lucky ones who get this done correctly? And think about it. The digital transformation has a direct impact on the engagement of people. And engagement of people has a direct impact on the mental well-being. So it becomes very, very important as to how you devise mechanisms, creative, innovative policies that would really make people engaged and have a positive and impact on the mental well-being of people. Well, you talked about events, those competitions, those shows, those Zumba sessions. Truth be told, people are fed up. Send them invitation for a WebEx seminar. invite them for the great webinar, which is the infamous word right now, Satish, people will actually hate us.
Right.
Therefore, it becomes all the more important for us to really craft something which not only is meaningful but is impactful. Because in the span that I get their attention, in the span that I get their vibe and energy, energized, it becomes all the more important that I make the best use of that time where somebody is involved, somebody can showcase themselves, somebody can reflect, contemplate. Since you asked about something that we did in the organization, I did something very, very differently. And I know it's an overstatement for me to make a statement that we did something very different because everybody almost claims the same. March 13th is when we went for a lockdown. March 15th, we were very clear that 100% of the organization is not going to work from home. We could have lived as though nothing has happened for HR because anyway we are under lockdown. We don't have any obligation to do things going out of the way. I asked myself and I asked my team of 12 something that has a strategic differentiation. We came up with a very simple thought because go back into that time, Satish, I think there was pensiveness, there was negativity. So we wanted to come up with something that is productive, positive, and very, very open. Meaning, how do I create an ecosystem that serves a positive outlook, productive working, and create a lot of open dialogue? And we came up with something called Mind and Soul. And we really started bringing the real-time engagement event that have had a direct impact on their engagement, their well-being, their positive thinking, their productive working. 80th version is when I released today. Between then and now, every other day we would talk to people, interview them, ask them about the change. During this time we went through an acquisition, we started asking people, where do you stand in the change curve? We went into people's personal space and asked James, when you are home, when you are doing nothing, and made him play a guitar and sing a song, which he never done before audience for 10 years of he being with us. So all in all, I'm saying is, it's very easy to talk about the digital transformation, but if we fail to understand the digital levers of the employee engagement and connect it with the well-being of people, fail to talk about the surveys, fail to talk about usage of coaching performance, though there is distance apart, it's an immense beating during the work from home aspect, learning and career aspirations, anxieties, their health concerns, rewards and recognitions, talent acquisition and sourcing, promotion. I think it is way too comprehensive. Therefore, every organization must have made a tailor-made approach towards employee well-being and employee engagement. But we were very, very clear. We wanted an electronic medium that would enable us to not only take care of the employee well-being but also the engagement. I just take last 30 seconds to tell you some. Sorry, Satish, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
No, all that I wanted to say is if LinkedIn, which is one of the most respected, engagement tool, can create the talent solutions, I think we need to just think on the similar lines as how one small tool that we indigenously in-house create can brand us, blend us, and create a comprehensive relationship to the entire organization, relationship opportunities to the entire organization. That's my closing thought. Sorry for being too long.
Thanks so much, Rajesh. I think you made sense, Rajesh, about with the topic of mental well-being being at the forefront and then driving everything else. And then also, I really liked the examples that you gave from your workplace and how you can do that in whatever industries we work in. It's the sales force, our people, the sales people. Now, in that context, it reminds me in this all transformation that we are undergoing, where people are having to work from home offices, travel is restricted, customers, they are also in the same boat. It's like I like this line when somebody said, we all are in the same stern, but in our different boats. So if customer who is also in the same stern finds it, I mean, usually they're deferring the buying decisions or they don't pay us on time. Yeah. So how do we manage to motivate our salespeople and keep them agile? That you get from so that's my question to Ashok to share from his experience.
Thank you, Satish. This is a very, very important aspect. Not just only the sales force, but company at large. But we can certainly focus on sales force because I come from a department, which is handling sales. All my life, I've been at different levels of my time. I've been a salesman, and for a salesperson, I mean, everybody, human beings live by goals. I mean, everybody, the way he conducts his life, and how he goes about, invariably there are goals that he sets for himself, the goal that the environment sets for him, and he or she works towards that. So, as humans, we would like to have a goal. Okay, and in a pandemic situation like this has been quite upsetting. And like earlier, you also brought this to the fore, especially in India, where the idea of working or the whole concept of working is that you get up in the morning, you go to an office, you work, and you come back. Okay, and your day ends. Working from home created a totally different paradigm, which I think the majority of the people have never experienced. Some of us who've been, in a way, lucky to work for international companies for quite some time have kind of eased ourselves into that space. Now, if you take a look at what's actually happened with the, especially in the Indian context, it's also happened with other parts of the world. But with in the Indian context, when we went into lockdown, the country went into lockdown in March. Just about everything shut down, right? Everybody stopped. It was like red light. Everybody came to a halt. It took a while for everybody to realize how they are going to react to this, and slowly people started to figure out that they need to not stop really, but how do you start working from home? Of course, those companies which were already linked in through using platforms like Teams or GoToMeeting and all, kind of easily translated their work and got going. So while most technical functions, especially like development, support activities, accounting, these were areas of work where people could continue doing something because there was work to be done, which could be done sitting at home, right? Provided your company infrastructure has the data which was necessary, which a lot of companies, very quickly adopted and ensured that people would different people to access data and work from home. The sales team, in particular, has one very difficult challenge. You need to communicate to people, and you need to sell a product. You need a response back from the customer for you to be able to achieve your goal. With the lockdown, what happened was companies closed, so the purchasing department was not there, so there was nobody to release an order. Right? If you were willing to send out something, there was nobody willing to accept it and receive your invoice. Okay, so this became a very big challenge. So even in as a company, one of the things we also decided very quickly was we need to keep the sales team much more engaged. Right, the technical teams were already had things on their table. They needed to do things. They reorganized their working hours accordingly. The sales team was peculiarly affected. One of the points I would just like to refer to what Rajesh mentioned about this time about when was personal time and when was professional time and how they kind of merged into each other. One of the things as a company we decided to do was the fact that across, we are a global company again, and we have teams across in Europe, USA, and in Asia. One thing we all senior members decided was that be organized in such a way that we would not cut into end of day times. We look very carefully and ensure that all our calls would be convenient for everybody at more or less working hours, kind of thing. Having said that, that really helped from the mental perspective. People were able to keep their personal lives away a little bit from the professional lives, working from home. When we take a look at the sales team point, within the first week here in our office in India, we decided that we will set up a pattern, okay, for the sales day. So we decided we broke it into a short-term, immediate objective and a long-term objective, because the customer, not only you have a problem, the customer has a problem. So therefore, for the sales team, it was required to be able to adopt to the customer situation also. Correct? So we kind of broke this down into two parts. One, what I call as the activity-driven part, and one which we decided was the goal-driven part. So for the first part of the pandemic period, where we were not sure exactly how things are going to be, with everybody working slowly, starting to work from home, we decided that this would be a good time for the sales team would do some good spring cleaning. Okay, clean up your customer database, get things, records updated, make sure that whatever information can help you as you go forward, let's get that cleaned up. Then we got into another activity exercise with the sales team, which was to continue to be connected to customers by making phone calls. Okay, we decided not to do just email. Sending out emails we felt impersonal, so we said let's make phone calls. When you make a phone call, the idea was not to talk business, but the idea was more to talk about the fact that, sir, are you doing well? How are things with you and your family and your area? We are doing fine. We look forward to be in touch with you. Do that kind of a discussion. The idea was to have a mental or a personal connect, and to leave behind one bit of information saying that we will come back and discuss business at a later point in time and things like that. So we kept customer engagement alive. And we progressed this in activity series by then about a month later, when everybody kind of fell into this work from home methodology, when we started to do what we call as product online presentation, so that we would tell the customers, okay, you have time, why don't you would you like to learn something from us? We will teach you. We have some courses to talk to you. We do some product demos. We did some online presentation, right? So the first 3 months really went away and through an activity driven point in time. And as we started seeing things were starting to slowly open, companies were going back, we have now moved into what we call as a goal driven aspect. So now we are looking at goals. Out of a lot of problems which the industry is facing, the customers are facing, we've been able to identify companies who are still working for the long term. Today, for instance, if you take automotive companies, they're not just designing for today, they're designing for 5 years down the line. So when you are talking about projects which are designing for 5 years down the line, work is happening. And they need support, they need tools, they need products, right? So we've been able to work through this period, identifying such projects which are long term. Now we have a goal, is to be able to satisfy the customer's requirement on that long term goal. So we have started the second thing, which is goal driven. I'm quite certain that we are already starting to see a positive reaction. Not only are we changing, our customers who are working from home are changing. And especially in the Indian context, a lot of the Indian companies who were not used to working from home are slowly getting around and learning to use the technology, and their organizations have been helping them, with the technology part of it. In fact, I had one customer who actually shipped all their computers which were in the offices to the homes. They said, I cannot give you VPN and stuff like that, but here, I trust you enough. Here's your computer from work. Please continue working from home. So what we have done, therefore, is that we've been able to support all these people. Our customers are also changing. So we are now into the goal-driven aspect. So by breaking these two ways, what we have found is that employee morale, sales team has been very active, okay, and now they know that this is how we are going to reach our targets. And in the meantime, slowly as people came back, they got their orders, a few orders here and there which were stuck, people reporting back to work, released orders, a couple of them were good. And the other thing was inter-team working. When sales team is getting motivated like this and doing activities, my application team, for instance, came out and said, if these guys are doing such a great job, let me go the extra mile and help them. Right? In fact, the case to the point is I have one engineer who is in North Karnataka. and his village is in the hills. His hometown is in the hills. He is there since the pandemic broke out and his family asked him to come back. Now, this guy actually spends 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon on a hill nearby so that he can get internet connectivity. Because at home he can't.
Wow.
Right? And then he supports the team. He not only supports the team, he actually does. In fact, on the weekend, he'll be doing training for a customer. So you see, what happens also is if we drive at senior levels with an idea like this, the team works together. And innovation really comes in. You let the people innovate by themselves, and the best comes out of people. So what we have seen, therefore, is that making a very clear definition of your intermediate and long-term plan and thinking for your customer actually helps motivate the team. So that's how we have kept the sales team motivated and going forward.
I can't thank you enough, Ashok, for taking this topic, explaining it in such a wider context. I asked you only about sales, but you not only answered that, you also answered many related aspects of it, about overall employee motivation, and also, about how do we connect all together and the goal-driven approach. It was really insightful to know your experience that you are actually doing in your organization. It's not out of a, for now for the students. Please remember that whatever, I hope it's being recorded and you can hear it again. Whatever Ashok shared just now about this topic is not out of any textbook. It's out exactly what they're trying to do and how the leadership is trying to lead by example. So that brings me to the last of the questions I had for the panelists. I hope we'll have some time for a couple of audience questions. Now this goes to Satyam. Satyam, sorry for keeping you so late. I think I asked the first question to you in the beginning, and the question that I have for you is that at a macro level, all this, what does it mean for India in future? Number one, and number two is what advice, maybe the top three advice you would give to the students sitting here and listening to us about how to better prepare themselves for the future, which is a digital one.
Thank you, Satish. And this is a really question that I want to answer because this is actually a forum for the students. So it needs to be highly relevant for how they need to prepare for their careers in future. So firstly, I started my journey in AT&T in US, and then I was used to internet very early on. In 1995, when the first browser came out, one of the things that I thought to myself, whenever this net comes to India, I definitely can have somebody sitting in, let's say, a small village, let's say outside Hyderabad. He can make a product, get it done or designed anywhere in the world, and get it made anywhere in the world, and get it sold anywhere in the world. That is really possible. At that time, I thought, not understanding all this technology and all, I said, you can probably procure wool from a cool country and then actually get it made in maybe in India, Bangladesh, and send it in the Macy's in Europe or in US. That is possible. Now, this is location independence is the first beautiful thing that happens with digital disruption that I say in the work environment. Now, what that means is that somebody sitting in outside Bhubaneswar in a small, when I listen to about a tribal or any of these universities that it has, now it doesn't really matter how the person looks or what kind of a dress he wears. You see, at the end of the day, the work shows, your quality of your work shows, and the discipline and accountability, attitude, and integrity that you bring to the organization that really matters. So what it really means, it doesn't matter somebody from the convent is coming and talking beautiful things and all, but somebody from the tribal university or even the remote towns or tier 2 towns and tier 3 towns can actually function and deliver what it takes in a global organization. What it means is they don't have to move to US or they don't have to wait for the visas. They can contribute from anywhere. That brings an enormous opportunity for somebody to be part of a large organization, or if you have developed enough skill set, you can develop your own small organization of 2, 3, 4, 5 people with related skill sets I mean, this is my favorite idea because we talk about smart cities quite a bit. I really wish 2, 3 engineers from electrical, then civil, mechanical, and electronics and computer science form a team. They start servicing the needs of a global organization from by sitting in their tier 2 town. All that would be absolutely possible. So to me, individually, you can be part of a large organization and you can create this is an excellent opportunity for SMEs to come up and to be brought up from where you are and play in the global domain. Now, what it also brings you back is a very, very important thing. As somebody mentioned earlier, working means going to the office first and checking out from the office. Now, it is much, much more important for the students or the new employees of the new workers coming into this entire system is to be highly accountable, highly disciplined, and to show a level of integrity. Now, I just use this word integrity very simply because for students, I would like to explain this and not in any kind of spiritual any other way. It is say what you do and do what you say. If you say the meeting is at 12 o'clock, just be there. Or if you say that it has to be done, it has to be done. So when you bundle this kind of multi-lateral talent and skill set and be able to work with integrity and accountability, and you should be able to be a very valuable part of any global organization or your own startups. That I think is a value that India has now catapulted itself because I haven't seen this kind of a working environment 1-2 years ago. I was used to this global environment, as many people have mentioned.
Right.
In US and India, wherever I was running the global organization. It doesn't matter where my customers are, where my teams are. I'm quite used to it. But then the new generation of people coming in, now, by the way, this is not going to be permanent either way. This kind of a working from home, I don't believe is going to be permanent. It's a situation that will be balanced. I think some people may have to go some time of the week or permanently work from home or permanently work from office. All combinations are possible for everyone, which means you don't assume anything, but at the same time, the opportunities are tremendous. So people who can display the quality and integrity, they'll have tremendous opportunities going forward.
Thank you so much. I think this is a very nice macro level view, and starting with the vision you had, the thought that struck you in the 1995 in the US, that there will be a time, and it happened in 25 years, which is not a long time, that somebody sitting in Hyderabad can order some product from Taiwan and make a final product here and sell it to the Europe and the US, is actually happening today. So and that is where the talent of today that is listening to us have to remember there's no limit. And in future, it's not the big eating the small, but it will be the fast and the connected who are eating the slow and the detached. Yeah. So coming towards the end, I think we have some time for the audience questions. I saw a couple of questions pop up on screen and then vanish. I'll need some help from the organizing team to pull those questions out and ask our panelists. Debra, does somebody give help?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So actually, I'm going to the first question was shared by one of the students. If the pandemic remains forever, then what will be the employment scenario in whole India, and how it is possible to do a job work from home? This is from one student whose name is Shuvendu Misra. So he asked this question. So mainly his question is totally concentrated to the how to get job in this work from home scenario. Means what are the skill set he requires? Maybe this is the question from him.
So
I can take that.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, Rajesh, sir.
I think it's a great question. First thing, I may sound spiritual, philosophical, but my friend, be optimistic. Pandemics will stay and they have their own shelf life. This will be gone. Mark my words, few months from now, I think you and I will be talking a different lingo altogether. But remember, we are an agile community. And as one of the panelists talked about, how the Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association ended up creating a lobby and have done the Vision Summit virtually. The agile global community, we will use that agility, and that has always been people-led and technology-supported agility, right? So how the technology will change, how the workspace will change. For example, we are 750 odd organization, and not all 750 are expected to be in the office right now. We only have left 50 work from there because they need to be dependent on some apparatus, some labs, some kits from home. How do we, working from home right now, enable them to work safely and take the hazard away? That's the human agility. Human beings are the common denominator to the concept of future proofing, whether it is complement to the technology being unleashed for remote working, or whether it is because we possess the soft skill, human skill, leadership skill that is needed to navigate through this historic crisis created by one, what I would call a biological terrorist. I think we will gain insights needed to drive success or fast failure for a cure. Therefore, next few months are going to be very decisive. And it all starts with each and every one of us, whether you as a students or we as industry practitioners. Those who are responsible for developing a new ecosystem will find a way. So take out the pessimism, be optimistic, even though you're going to work from home. The key is to nurture the curiosity. The key is to invent constantly. The key is to solve the problem quickly and have options even outside the crisis, so that when the world becomes normal, we will be far more optimized than ever before.
Thank you, Rajesh. And I think we have 5 more minutes left. Maybe two quick questions. And
Yes,
I
sir.
would ask the questions to be brief and the response also we can keep it to the point. Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Another question from student Deepjyoti Mukherjee. He is asking, what are the barriers that usually block?
Okay, I could take that.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, Ashok sir.
The challenges for digital transformation are like this. First and foremost are people ourselves. So usually employee pushback, as we call it, is one of the things which invariably tends to be one first point. The lack of expertise within the organization to lead digitalization initiatives. Sometimes the organization structure itself is like that. Lack of a strategy is the fourth one I can think of. And of course, everything costs money, so limited budgets. So these are typically the top five listed, challenges for any organization going forward for a total digital transformation. Some of that happens automatically. Today, it's a given that you have an office means that you certainly have computers, which means you're already online. You are already partly digital with the way you type out and store letters or do whatever. You already got communication going on. Now comes the requirement of a better strategy of being able to maximize the use of all the digital activity. So these are typically the challenges. Yes. I hope that helps with that answer.
Thanks. Sure.
Yes, sir. Another last question, actually, due to the shortage of time. This is by another student, Navankur Bhattacharya. So he is asking ki, during this pandemic, what is the future of the small internship, or maybe what is the future of this that entrepreneurship? Means if the small budget entrepreneurships are there, so in this pandemic, how it is going to be affected?
Yeah, maybe I can take that.
Yes, sir.
As we were discussing earlier, that the situation is totally changing altogether in terms of how the companies are actually approaching the business, and they have innovated in the past few months, and things are clearly showing the results by productivity staying high and so forth. People are realizing that probably being in offices, being in big buildings, etc., is probably not that relevant anymore. If all the work can happen through technology, through people sitting in various places, then the companies obviously are realizing that that is the way to go. Now this prevents an immense opportunity for the organizations, large and small, because it brings a lot of even keel for the smaller organizations who are getting into the business, right? Because now they don't need to get into so much of huge real estate and so forth. When we talk about students, so the companies are actually doing interviews online, and not going into the campuses and getting people on board through that. I'm aware of cases where people have, and personally been involved in those cases where there is a person whom we ended up hiring 60 kilometers away from Tirupur in south in a village, and we were finding out ways how do we have a laptop reach to that person. Luckily, connectivity is there in deeper parts of India today. How do we have a laptop reach that person? And once that is there, the person is online and is able to engage totally with us. So with this, you have, wherever you are, you can get engaged through the companies, engaging digitally, and do almost everything that you would have done otherwise sitting in these offices. So the opportunities are immense. I think as students, what I would say is that you should not feel bogged down at all by the fact that the engagements are not happening and so forth, because I personally see nothing really has changed. The world is moving, especially the digital world, especially the electronics and the IT industry is moving for as much forward as as it was any time earlier. As Mr. Rajesh was saying, things will definitely get better as we go forward, and I think this pandemic has provided us a way to innovate in this situation. And when we come back, we are going to be much stronger than where we were a few months ago. Almost everything that you would have done otherwise sitting in these offices.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the answer of these queries. Actually, my chat box is totally flooded with lot of questions, but due to the shortage of time, I am not able to give the questions. So I asked my students to kindly write a mail for these students. Otherwise, if it is possible, then I can forward these questions to this respected leadership so that they can answer this question in an offline mode also. Now, actually, I like to thank all the esteemed panel members for giving their valuable inputs and sharing their views over this navigating digital transformation in the electronics ecosystem. I like to thank our esteemed panel members, Satish Mahapatra sir from Siemens, Sattam Bhimar Sethi sir from Neo Silica, Amardeep Fulani sir from NSP Semiconductor, Ashok MS sir from Zuken India, and Rajesh Chandragati sir from Cyprus Semiconductor. Also, I like to thank our founder sir, VC ma'am, VC sir, Pro VC ma'am, Registrar sir. I like to thank our director sir, Dr. Arun Kumar Ray, for motivating throughout this event. I like to thank Saranjit Singh sir and Professor Kumar Mohanty sir for their constant support and guidance. I like to thank our respected faculty members and colleagues and my IE members. Those are actually working with me for making this event successful. But actually, I like to thank all my student coordinators who are actually working in the background. And just brief thing of my student coordinators, I want to tell all of you, because this WebEx has a limit of 1,000, but in my school there are 3,000 students, so they are not able to see. And in the background, actually, my students coordinator working splendidly well, and they are making this total panel discussion in YouTube live. So all the students are really watching this thing in a YouTube. So actually, I like to thank my student coordinators who are actually doing splendidly well in the background mode. So thank you all of you. Now I like to hand over this session to Director Sir so that I can give a total thing.
Thank you.
So now the wonderful session that has happened just now. So I would like to thank all the panel members, esteemed members, for their contribution, for their presence and time, and they have shared their ideas, their experience with all of us. So this is already 1:32. So I would like to thank all of you before closing. So thank you all. We can close the meeting now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. It was
Thank you, sir.
participating. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And to all.